And that's when a light bulb clicked in my mind. It's like, wow, this can work. And if I would have used private capital, I wouldn't have had to burn through all of mine to do that. So then I started using a private lender to purchase my next properties. I certainly didn't know much about investing at the time. All I knew was like we had the TSP, which is essentially the government's version of a 401k.
Okay.
You know, and there's always encouragement to feed that, right? So that's what I did most of my career, and I fed that up until, you know, the financial crisis 2008, and I watched it lose half its value overnight, and I was just sort of shocked at that point, and I knew that I probably needed to do something different.
Obviously, you've went to college, you have this job, you're getting paid well in the job, and then you're putting money into your 401k, which is what everyone always tells you to do. And then you get to the financial crisis around 2008-ish, and you see your 401k cut in half or obliterated in some sense. So is that what attracted you to investing? Or like to looking at different alternatives of either saving or growing money?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a wake-up call for me. So I knew something was weird. Like my wife and I, we bought our first home in like 2004, and I can remember the realtor taking us to homes that I knew we couldn't afford. Like the realtor taking us to like $700,000-$800,000 homes, and I'm like, this is not what we're asking you to show us. You know, oh well, you can get approved for this. Don't worry. You know, and I just knew something was wrong in the market. Right. I didn't know what it was. Right. Like I wasn't a real estate investor at the time. I just knew things were weird.
Right.
And then when 2008 happened, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense now why this is happening.
Yeah.
But when I saw my 401k go in half, I just knew my wife was a stay-at-home mom with our kids at this point. So I was the sole income bringer, right, or earner, and I just knew that I needed to make some sort of change. So it like forced me to educate myself in different ways of investing money.
Did you have any resources around you, like other investors around you that you could lean into, or did you have to just sort of take it on yourself to find different options?
I didn't know anybody at the time. It was all on myself. I was YouTube University and Dave Ramsey and, you know, all that kind of stuff, trying to figure it out.
What led you to real estate specifically? Was it like Bigger Pockets or something? Or
yeah, I think, you know, I was listening to Dave Ramsey one day. I was driving to work on a commute in, and some caller called in who, you know, was a guy my age, mid-30s, lays out his financial plan for Dave, and Dave, as he normally does, goes into a rant and just starts ripping this guy apart. And as Dave is yelling at this guy, I think he's yelling at me, because it's the same sort of situation, right? Like, I am not focused. I am not building a financial path for my wife, my family, you know, for our future. And so, like, I know I need to make a change, and I start just doing more research. And obviously Rich Dad, Poor Dad was a huge impact on my life. I know a lot of people say that, and it's kind of cliche, but it was, right? When I read that book, it was, okay, now I kind of know what I need to do, and I started pursuing real estate more. And that's when I, you know, started buying properties.
Interesting. Are you still traveling a lot at this time, or are you mostly stateside?
Oh, no, I'm traveling a lot.
Yeah. So how are you finding these deals, or how are you building the relationships? How are you going about, let's just talk about specifically your first property. I always love understanding how people just get their foot in the door.
Yeah.
What did that look like for you?
First of all, I probably completely did it totally wrong. I didn't know what I didn't know, but I knew that I wanted to buy a rental property. And, you know, Bigger Pockets had just come out, so I just started listening to them. They were like, oh, you got to buy multifamily. So I figured I got to buy multifamily. So I bought a duplex, right? Small multifamily. I bought it all my own cash that I had saved up, and then I fixed it up using all my own cash, right? And I just didn't know any better. I didn't know about private lenders at the time, and that's what I did. But I ended up refinancing that and pulling a bunch of capital back out. And that's when a light bulb clicked in my mind. It's like, wow, this can work. And if I would have used private capital, I wouldn't have had to burn through all of mine to do that. So then I started using a private lender to purchase my next properties.
Where were you buying these?
I was buying them in upstate New York.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were living, where were you living?
We were living in Northern Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were living in Northern Virginia, and you were buying in upstate New York. Is that because you were familiar with that area? You had ties to that area? What was the...
Yeah, so I was familiar with it. It was, you know, an area close to where I grew up. When I say close, you know, an hour and a half away, but it was where we went as kids, and it's, you know, it was just where we went to the closest shopping mall. It was the closest sort of city, I guess, to our town.